Welcome back to the DotLife podcast. We're here for this week's Tiny Dot concert with the Fred Woodard Collective. Hey, Fred.
How you doing?
Great to have you. And you've got some bandmates with you. Do you want to introduce yourself and them?
Yes, my name is Fred Woodard. I play guitar with the band. And this is my daughter, Denise. She plays bass. Then my son, Fredrick, plays violin.
Awesome. That's really cool that you play with your family.
Mm-hmm.
How long has that been going on?
Well, Fredrick's been playing violin since he was in the first grade. And as soon as he started to learn how to play, he started off, of course, in the standard traditional classical methods. And I showed him some blues, like a blues scale. And I showed him a few blues licks and things like that. And he continued to, of course, study in the classical tradition. But I gradually would show him some jazz stuff. And then we started to play together. We started to play like down in Harvard Square and some of the MBTA train stations and so forth. And the standard name for that sort of activity is called busking. So that's how he got his start with that, along with his classical training.
How old were you at this point?
When I started playing, or
when you were busking?
I was 9.
Okay. That's a cool childhood activity. A lot of people don't have.
Yeah, definitely.
And, then as time went on, he would sit in with my group and then eventually became a steady member of the group.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about Denise?
She, of course, learned some things on her own. She probably would be the best one to describe her experiences as a bass player.
I started playing when I was 13, so I kind of picked it up pretty quickly. I kind of learned like the basics pretty quickly. So I started playing, like busking with them when I was like 14, like 7th grade or 8th. Yeah, 7th, 8th grade. That's when I started. And then, from there, I just went with it. I really gravitated towards the bass. Like when I first picked it up, it was to play this song that I really liked. And I just listened to it and, found the notes on the bass, played it back. And that's how I learned my first song. And that's how I learned pretty much any song that I do. But, yeah.
I love a female bass player. That's so cool. Yeah. Very, very unusual, but very cool.
Yeah, rare breed.
And the violin also is kind of a unique instrument. Probably not tremendously unique in jazz, but kind of. I don't see a ton of violin, and I think that your style is really cool. Do you want to talk about how you found the violin?
I found the violin through a program at school. These people did a demonstration at my kindergarten school, and I'm pretty sure that's what inspired me to come home and say that I would like to play the violin, as an extracurricular activity. So I'm pretty sure that was around the first grade.
Okay. And you both went to Boston schools, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. I graduated Tech Boston.
I graduated from Latin Academy, but we actually went to the same kindergarten school.
Okay.
And elementary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nice. And I forgot to mention, you're from Dorchester. You guys live in Upham's Corner?
Yes, we live in the Upham's Corner area, kind of like in between Upham's Corner and Nubian Square.
Okay.
I guess they call that the Dudley Triangle. That's probably like the official name of the area. But I usually say we live near Upham's Corner because it's pretty much, that's the general area.
And I heard you mention earlier, Fredrick is the third.
Yeah, he's the third. Yeah, my father, of course, is Fred Sr. I'm Fred Jr. I really use that ending to my name. I rarely call myself that. I just say Fred Woodard. But sometimes I'll say his full name, like if I'm introducing the band.
Or when you're yelling at him.
Usually I just say Fredrick.
Yeah.
And I'm Fred, he's Fredrick, just to make it different.
So was your father also musical?
He was musical in that he listened to a lot of variety of music.
Okay.
Anything from gospel to blues to rhythm and blues to jazz, of course. So my household when I was growing up was filled with a variety of things, including jazz. So by the time I was like, 10, 11 years old, I knew who Miles Davis was and John Coltrane, and those folks like that. And Louis Armstrong. I mean, all those records were playing throughout my household. So
and you really kept that with you. I mean, you've been playing this kind of music for a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Talk about, your inspirations. You mentioned a few of them, and I know you're going to play a little bit of Jackson 5
Oh
later.
yeah. Well, I recently recorded an album called Indigo, and in that album, it's all blues songs, but
Okay.
they're all done in a different kind of way. So, like I was saying, I was inspired to become a musician by seeing them perform.
Yeah.
Like there's a show called the Ed Sullivan Show. Anybody my age knows what
I've
that
seen
was
Ed
about.
Sullivan. Yeah, the Beatles were on
That
there.
was a big deal. And so when I saw them on that particular show, I said, "Hey, they're about my age. I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it." So basically, that's how I got into, wanting to play the guitar. I mean,
Okay.
it just so happened that my dad had an old guitar laying around, and I would kind of mess with it. And then eventually, I started taking some lessons and so forth, and picking up a little here, a little there. And there were, of course, other guitar players besides Tito Jackson that inspired me. There was, of course, Jimi Hendrix at the
Yeah.
time. He was popular. I liked also like BB King, and my dad turned me on to Wes Montgomery. From Wes Montgomery, I found out about George Benson. Also found out about Grant Green, and there were some other guitarists like Joe Pass, whom I met at a clinic when I was still in high school, and also Chuck Wayne, another jazz guitarist that I met, when I was, still in high school. And then in my summer of my sophomore year, I came to Boston for a summer program at Berkeley. At the time, it was called, it was a 7-week program, and it cost $1,000 for 7 weeks, room and board, everything. So through that experience, in which I learned a whole lot, met a lot of great people, I decided that I wanted to come to Berkeley for college.
Okay.
So
And you had some other options you were considering.
I had some other options, of course, the University of Iowa, which would have been much cheaper.
A little different.
Yeah, and I was would have been a business major. And the funny thing of it was, I was registered to go to University of Iowa. I went through the orientation and everything. Then I got an acceptance letter from Berkeley.
You're like, see
So
ya. And also you had mentioned a California school.
Yeah, there
you were
was
looking at
a school in California called Guitar Institute of Technology. I got
Okay.
accepted there too. That was just at the time, it was just a 1-year program, and so I considered those are 3 schools I got into.
Okay.
So I decided it finally was Berkeley. So
And how about you folks? Are you in school? Are you performers? Like what's the future for you?
I recently graduated from UMass Boston. So,
Congrats.
yeah, I was a music major over there.
Okay.
Mm.
How about you, Fredrick?
And then I was an electronic music production major. At
You let
Berkeley.
me sit and fiddle with these chords and you're an electronic?
Oh, that's funny. I didn't want to get in your way. Some of the stuff I'd never seen. But
Same,
but yeah, that was
same.
my major in college,
Where did you go?
Berkeley.
Okay.
So I'm an orchestra director for the Boston Music Project, and then I also perform like by myself, and then with a bunch of different groups, and then with my dad as well.
So you guys are not going to stop. Like this is going to be,
Mm.
I love it.
Mm. And to answer your second question, right now I'm working with this organization. It's called Pudding Stone Creatives, and they do a bunch of different stuff like music, theater, dance. They like put on shows.
Aside from jazz, obviously, what other inspirations, what type of music do you find inspiring or interesting?
A lot. I like funk music, like soul, Motown type music. I like reggae a lot, like reggae and dancehall, especially as a bass player. I think that's like one of the big genres that I listen to, especially for the bass lines.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
How about you, Fredrick?
My answer is pretty similar. I listen to a lot of jazz, a lot of R&B, a lot of hip hop, reggae, dancehall, soca, compa, Afrobeat, just like a bunch of different genres, a lot of rock. Yeah, so I have a lot of different inspirations from different places,
Awesome.
different genres.
So Fred Jr. I first found you, I think you've played all of the Dorchfest events so far, right?
Yes.
People can come check you out. Anywhere else people can find you?
This every year since 2016, I've organized the Dudley Jazz Festival, which is in the area where I live. So in that community, we have an organization called Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative, and we have the Dudley Greenhouse and everything. So that's why I named the festival the Dudley Jazz Festival, because it's a neighborhood thing first and foremost, and I'm able to pull together every year 4 bands to play, including myself. So
And when is that?
it's going to be held in July 19th,
Okay.
at the Mary Hannon Park from 12 to 6. So it's an idea I had many years ago, but I eventually was able to make it come to fruition through a grant I got from the Riley Foundation. And then later on, of course, I wrote grants from other organizations like the Boston Foundation, and I think the city of Boston has an arts and culture
Yeah.
department. I got some grants from there as well. So that's how I've been able to pull it off. And plus, me and my daughter played for, I think, the month of March. We played at a place in Haverhill called the Big Dogs. It's a
Nice.
restaurant. So we do some gigs like that. Sometimes we do weddings,
Do you have a social or a website you want to show?
Oh yeah, I definitely have a website. I have, of course, I have my personal, Facebook page.
Yeah.
Then I got a Facebook page for the band Fred Woodard Collective.
Okay.
Then I got another Facebook page for the Dudley Jazz Festival.
Okay.
Then I'm also on Instagram, Fred Woodard. Then also the Dudley Jazz Festival is on Instagram.
Okay.
So those are the 2 main platforms I have, and I've got some things on YouTube as well. I haven't posted as many things on there, but you can find me online. I have a website also, fredwoodard.com, but that needs to be upgraded.
Well,
So-
I'd love to hear you guys play. I'm excited to hear you, but before we get into that, I think you're going to be joined shortly by your drummer. So can you
Yeah.
just talk about your drummer before he joins us?
Yeah, Matthew is a former student of mine at the Roland Hayes School of Music. Now, the Roland Hayes School of Music is a public school that's on the campus of the John D. O'Brien School of
Oh, yeah.
Math and Science. And at one point, when I first started teaching there back in '94, we also serviced Madison Park High School. So right now, we're just strictly affiliated with the John D. O'Brien School. We're the music department for that school. So through that particular experience, I teach guitar class, and then I also after school taught a jazz band.
Okay.
And Matthew was part of that. And at a young age, he was already could play very well. So while he was still in high school, I hired him for gigs.
Mm.
So he's been playing with me quite a while. Of course, I've used different drummers here and there, but as of late, past maybe 6-7 years, he's been playing with me as my steady drummer. And he went to Berkeley on a full scholarship, and he's quite busy as a professional musician. So he's all over the place. So I'm happy.
I'm glad we
have
got him for tonight.
and I
Yeah.
was happy to give him his start. I think he started out mainly playing in church.
Well, I knew you were a teacher because earlier you threatened to use your teacher voice if you needed to.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we didn't have to do that. But
Yeah.
well, I'd love to hear you guys play. Do you mind if we run through a few?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Collective. We got Fredrick Woodard on violin, Denise Woodard on bass, Matthew Williams on drums, and myself, Fred Woodard, on guitar. We're going to start off with an original composition. This is entitled Crossover, and it's dedicated to Albert King. Actually, I got the title from one of his tunes called Crosscut Saw. So I kind of play on words. And I took a piece of his solo and developed a theme out of it. Okay? So here we go.
now proceed to do something with a different flavor, bossa nova flavor. This is by Carlos Antonio Jobim. Carlos Jobim. I know he's got a middle name. I forget the middle name. But anyway, Antonio Carlos Jobim. And this is called Wave. 1, 2, 3. All right, now we're gonna keep on moving here. Next one is another original composition. This one was written for a friend of mine that I met way back in the day at Berkeley. One of the first guitar players I met when I went to Berkeley, and he wrote out a chord progression that he sent around to all his friends and wanted them to write a melody on top of the chord progression. So this song is called Melody for Charlie. One, two, one, two. Yeah, melody for Charlie. His name is Charlie Duckett. Currently lives in Nashville, Tennessee. Good friend of mine. Now we're going to carry on and do something by Duke Ellington. This is called In a Sentimental Mood. We're going to slow things down a little bit. This features our violinist, Fredrick Woodard III.
a sentimental mood. Now we're going to conclude our set with a tune that I wrote for Michael Jackson. Also, I really should say the Jackson 5. They're the people that originally inspired me to play music. So the official name of the tune is MJJ, dedicated in memory of Michael Jackson and Tito Jackson. And this is a song that was based off of a tune they did way back in the day called Going Back to Indiana. So it's a blues with a bridge, inspired again by one of my favorite groups, the Jackson 5, also known as the Jacksons. So anyway, enjoy.